Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Thank you for visiting my channel, and I appreciate you watching this video. If you do enjoy the video, there's a like button down below. If you'd hit that before you leave, that helps me out a great deal. I've also, at several people's request, I added a way to donate to me if you find these videos useful, and I appreciate any kind of contribution you can make, but there's a link at the top of my main YouTube page on the right hand side that says buy me a coffee, and you can I believe you can either give me $5, $15 or $25. So it's not actually coffee, but it's a way to donate to me. So any kind of contributions help me to be motivated to continue putting out quality content for you guys, so appreciate that in advance. Today I thought it's getting towards winter time here, and we've already had some snow, so I thought I've made snowflake earrings in the past and they always come out pretty cool, so I thought I'd make a pair of snowflake earrings for you. So let's do that one today. Okay, let's make some snowflake earrings. Let's see. So years ago I bought these at a show in Denver, and the guy who sold them to me told me they were synthetic emeralds, but these particular ones are not. I found that out when I broke a couple of them when I was setting them. I believe they're lead crystal, or maybe those, I don't remember the name, starts with an S, kind of crystals. But they're very pretty anyway. They got a lot of sparkle to them. So they make for nice stones in things that don't require a lot of durability. Like earrings don't get banged around too much. And so even though these can crack, they're probably going to be okay in a pair of earrings, you know what I mean? So, all right, so we'll use those for the stones. Materials we're going to need, put these over here for a second. I always use 3/16 inch bezel strip made out of fine silver. We're going to use some 14 gauge round sterling silver wire. Some 18 gauge round sterling silver wire, and that's, I think, pretty much all we need. Oh, we'll need a little bit of 20 gauge wire for the ear wires, and that should be it. So let's make the bezels for these stones first. As always, thank you for all the nice comments that people have been making lately and subscribing to my channel. I appreciate that. For these ones, we're going to make a little step bezel for these stones, so we're going to use some 18 gauge wire to make some jump rings to lift them up so they don't sit low in the bezel. Since I've reached 1,000 subscribers, I think it's probably time to set up a Patreon as well, so I'll probably be doing that and offering some premium content if people choose to sign up for that. Maybe a live jewelry making session once a month or something like that would be kind of fun. Let me know if that's something that might interest you. It's amazing when you have to edit your own videos how many annoying speech patterns you notice about yourself. I'm trying not to do some of those things that I don't like, at least. One of them is I noticed I say so at the end of almost every sentence. Not sure where that came from. Another thing I notice, I start humming sometimes. trying to quit doing that. I either need to just sing outright or just stop humming, one or the other. You'd probably be happier if I just stopped humming. So I'm just shaping these bezels back into this round shape. Oftentimes people ask me why I make them into squares first, or rectangles. And there's a couple of reasons. One is that it makes it easy because you have a nice flat plane to set your piece of solder on, so it makes it super easy to solder. Another one, it makes it easier to push them past each other so they're pushing together nicely. And also, if you're trying to solder something at a curve like this, you have to kind of calculate an angle in that bend or it'll not be a very neat solder joint. So if you're going straight onto each other, it's a perfect 90 degrees, so it's easy to do that then. Not everybody does this, and that's fine. It's just a matter of style, I think. I also get a lot of people asking me if this is the right, I've been doing this wrong or something like that. And I think that's the wrong way to think about these kinds of things. There's multiple ways to achieve different or achieve the same outcome with things sometimes. Much of the way I do things is unconventional compared to the way most silversmiths do. I use primarily hard solder, with very rarely using anything else. A lot of people would tell you that's the wrong way to do things, although it works for me. Spray on flux. A lot of people paint their flux on. That's something that people have told me that was my way was wrong. But that's okay. I just don't think there's a wrong or a right. I think it's whatever works for you. That's not to say that there aren't some things you can do wrong that will cause you to have problems. But when you're talking about just specific techniques, sometimes there's multiple ways to get to the same place. Okay, I'm cutting myself a little bit of 18 gauge round wire to make those little steps in the bezel with. Probably just going to need maybe 2 little rings for each one of these. You can make these using a round nose pliers or wrap them around something. Jump ring mandrel. I usually just kind of manually make them. I find it easier to adjust the size up and down if I overlap them like that. I hope you can see that. So then I can hold it above like this and say, that's close, but maybe just slightly too small. Somebody commented the other day that they were tired of looking at this dirty looking pad with a bunch of puke emojis. Guess I should invest in a new pad. This one's trying to ride up on one side but not on the other. That means it's just a little bit too big still. So they need to sit in there flat. If you haven't made one of these before, I have a video specifically about making bezel settings for faceted stones. Let's see. I think that's where I point to put the link, but I'll put a link up there for you. Alright, so that one's about right. You just need to make 3 more. Should have taken better care of my hands when I was younger. I didn't know I was going to be a hand model on the internet. One thing I'm really concerned about is that the point doesn't stick out the bottom of the bezel, but that'll create a nice platform for it to sit on there. So I think 2 is plenty. You can buy pre-made step bezels and things like that, but they're not very hard to make, so I usually just make them myself. Alright, 2 more. Before I solder these in, I'm going to really make sure that I got those rings laying flat in there, one on top of the other, and that they're not sticking out, you know, at a weird angle like this on the bottom or anything. Looks pretty good. Reason being that it'll create a slanted platform in there for the stone to sit on if you don't have them nice and flat, and that makes it harder to set the stone. I'm just going to file these bottoms flat. You get a nice, clean, flat looking surface. If you ever do this and it doesn't come out looking nice and clean, you can always set these on another piece of solder and reflow the solder. And it usually will take care of the problem. Just kind of cleaning out some of the filing stuff there. And these are way too tall. But when I get to the end part of this, I'll file them down to just the right height to where the bezel sticks up just barely above the girdle of the stone, which is the widest point of the faceted stone. And then we'll set it out. We'll kind of start pushing it over the top of that girdle. But now we need to make the part of the snowflake that looks like a snowflake. These will be the centers. And let's see, I was going to use some 14 gauge round. And I don't need very big pieces. I'm going to put 6 projections on each of these. So I need 12 little pieces. So I'm going to cut them. I'm not sure how long that is, maybe 3/8 of an inch. These don't have to be perfect, but they need to all be at least that length. This is one of those situations where I'm cutting a whole bunch of things about the same length. So I need 12 of them. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I got a spare to keep as one that in case I screw something up and I need to cut some more. That was a trick I learned a long time ago. Especially when you're doing things that need real specific length. These I'm just going to try and straighten out a little bit. I'm going to flatten both ends of these. Okay, so let's you can use a protractor if you want to line these up, but I usually just kind of eyeball it. You got 30-degree angles, I think. You start with a couple straight across from each other. Should we do them both at the same time? I'm in frame here. These pieces of solder I have over here are a little bigger than I probably need for these. So I'm going to cut some smaller pieces. So when I spray some flux on here, they're all going to move around anyway, so I'm not sure why I'm taking so much time. Yeah, it didn't move too bad. Sometimes they move around a lot. This is the kind of thing where practicing being able to keep your solder liquid without melting your piece is useful. So sometimes you need to keep it in a liquid state so you can nudge things around like this, just to get them how you want them, just as close as you can. I find that to be a pretty useful skill. Because I'm not terribly good at getting things straight on the first try. Probably good enough. Okay, we're going to need a little bit more 18 gauge wire for this kind of the final step of the snowflake part. And then we'll just have to add a jump ring on one of these ends of the snowflake and put an ear wire on it. So I'm going to cut a piece of this. And I'm going to make a little cross branch on each of these. It doesn't need to be very long, so I'll cut this one here and do a little test to see how good it is for this size. So we're just going to make a little shape like that. I'm going to solder them on here like this. So I think that's a little too long, honestly. I also think I didn't solder that one on very straight. So I'm going to cut 12 of these a little bit shorter than this. So I'm going to straighten that one back out and I'll use that as a guide. Just to save me time later, I'm going to file the ends of these a little bit. Next step again is going to be bending these into little V. You can measure to the center of these. I'm going to eyeball them. Didn't get that one centered very well. It's a little better. Did it again. Very subtly. Alright, let's see how this looks. Okay, now we're going to attach these things on here. I think I'm going to use it's called a magnesia block. Let me make sure I get the right area there for you. Because this allows me to push it into the pad like this so that these wires aren't elevated so they won't drop off or anything when I'm doing this, because I want to solder these on from the back. So before I do that, I'm going to file the ends of these guys. Kind of visually inspecting these while I'm doing this to see if there's, you know, shaped the way I want them to be, because I was kind of quickly shaping them. Put them so they just kind of lean against. Trick will be getting them straight and same distance from the center. And also I'm a little shaky today, so. Let me could probably mark it with a marker or something so it makes it easier to line these up with the same thing, but I'm kind of an eyeballer when it comes to stuff like this. So I'm going to cut some small pieces of solder for this. Don't want to have huge globby messes on these. But I do want them to be attached well. I've needed to fill that flux bottle for like 4 videos. They have a tendency to pull to one side if you're not careful. Try to make sure they're all pointing outwards like that. I think that's good. To see here. Okay, so it's starting to look like a snowflake now, I think. So I'll do the other one and then I'll add a jump ring to each of these, and then we'll let them pickle. And I think with these ones, because I'm using those lead crystal stones, I'll probably polish these most of the way before I set the stones, because those are easy to damage. So that'll lessen the chance of us doing something on the polishing wheel to them. So. The trick on these ones is getting the bigger part hot enough, because these little wires up top are pretty exposed to the heat the way I'm heating it, so they get up to that temperature pretty easily. The piece below it doesn't, before those get kind of squishy and red. Not really a trick, it's just practice of figuring out where to put the heat when it needs to be where it needs to be. I might snip these down. I'm going to cut some little tiny jump rings here. This is I created by taking some 20 gauge wire and I just wrapped it around a piece of 14 gauge silver wire, and it makes for a nice little tiny ring that works great on earrings. It's actually Thanksgiving today. I hope you're all having a nice Thanksgiving, if you're in a place that celebrates that. If you're not careful, these little rings, they're light enough to where when you solder them on, sometimes when the solder flows it'll flip them up like that, so I always keep my pick in my hand just in case I need to push them back down. Pick up a little extra. So I'm going to throw those in a pickle and let them pickle for a while. Like I said, I'll probably file them down to the level that the stone needs, bezel need to be for the stone, and clean it up a little bit with the Dremel, and then I'll polish it, and then I'll bring it back and show you how to set the stones. Put the ear wires on these before I polished them, because with little pieces like this it's easier to hold on to things if you have a little extra place to grab like that. So I'm going to go ahead and set these stones. I did file them down to about the correct height. Give it a little poke from behind. Seams in there pretty good. Do this one. This last step, what I'm doing, is called burnishing. If you're new to this, most people use a special tool called a burnishing tool. I tend to use the outside smooth part of my needle nose pliers. It works pretty well. Gives me good leverage too with a bigger handle like this. Okay, let's give this one a little poke from behind, make sure he's in there good. Feels pretty secure. All right. Shape these guys into earrings now. We'll call it a day. Take a better picture of this and put it at the end, but these have been, I always thought these came out kind of cute, and they've been a pretty good seller around the holidays, so hopefully you'll find that to be the case too once you make a pair or two of them. That was the snowflake earrings. Thanks for watching my video. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the like button down below. That helps the channel a lot, and if you enjoyed it, maybe consider subscribing to my channel. You can get updates if you click the bell, and I'm putting out 2 or 3 videos per week. I think most of the content's pretty useful, and as I said at the beginning, if you want to make a contribution, there's a Buy Me a Cup of Coffee link at the top, and also in the description of the video. So thanks for watching. Happy silversmithing. Take care.